All right, some good news out of Austin today for Longhorn fans. Quinn Ewers is returning for the 2024 season at Texas. I'm here with Horns 24/7's Eric Henry. Eric, first, your overall thoughts on Ewers' return and what this means for Texas's offense as they head to the SEC in 2024.
Yeah, Tommy, I'll start just in relation to Quinn. I think it's the best move for him. You're talking about a kid who obviously has been part of the greater college football discussion, the greater college football world for the better part of the last 3 years, coming out of high school and being so highly touted. Of course, 24/7 Sports Composite #1 player in his class. He ends up getting the starting role at Texas in 2022, and that clearly was just a year to kind of get his feet wet and get him going. But this year, it was a noticeable shift, a noticeable development in his game. Year 2 in Steve Sarkisian's system, trusting in that system. One of the things he did, I think that he excelled especially well this year, was protecting the football. Only 6 interceptions with a high completion rate. So for Quinn, I think in my mind, year 3 should be the best opportunity for him to kind of be the best quarterback. And especially when we take a look at this year's quarterback class, in my mind, there is no guarantee really that Quinn, you could always take a look at what would have happened at the combine, but there's no guarantee that he was going to slide into the upper echelon of the first round in my mind. If he comes back and has another successful year, especially doing it with the departures of Jordan Whittington and Xavier Worthy and A.D. Mitchell and Jatavian Sanders, showing that he can do it with a different crop of guys, I think that bodes well for his future going forward as far as the NFL. And then you take a look at for Texas, as I mentioned, just the fact that you're losing 4 of your top receivers, really 5 when you talk about the top pass catchers, you include Jonathan Brooks in that regard. This was a much needed lift for the Texas offense. Obviously, there are talented playmakers, guys like Jonte Cook, Matthew Golden coming in from Houston, Ryan Wingo, DeAndre Moore from last year's roster, who are looking to step into new roles. And I think they'll do well, but especially having a veteran quarterback like Quinn, someone who knows how to distribute the football, and especially this offensive line, the continuity up front there as well. Just a big boost knowing that you're not going to have to completely turn over this offense from last year.
Eric, during that, you mentioned Steve Sarkisian. There's been a lot of rumors out there with the Alabama head coaching vacancy that maybe Sarkisian goes back to Tuscaloosa, but at least in my mind, I would think that Ewers returning is a positive sign for Texas fans in the sense that it more than likely means Sarkisian returns to Texas to be the head coach and turns down the Alabama job if he's offered that. Eric, do you see it the same way, or could there be more to it?
Listen, Tommy, you never say never, right? We've been surprised by much. We've been surprised time and time before, but so it's not like you can say that this is just completely in the bag for Texas. However, when Quinn Ewers made his announcement on Instagram, one of the first people to post that on their Instagram story, and again, it feels almost weird in 2024, right? We're talking about IG stories, but this is the way we do it nowadays, right? Steve Sarkisian was one of the first people to put that on his IG story, kind of acknowledging the fact that Quinn Ewers was returning. So in one aspect, yes, you do have to look at this and think that this bodes well for Sark coming back to Texas. But on the other hand, we know the relationship between Steve Sarkisian and Nick Saban. A lot's been made about it even prior to this year and heading into the matchup against Alabama and coming out of that matchup with Alabama. I think we saw a measure of emotion from Steve Sarkisian, and a lot of it when we spoke with him post-game and even following that game in the weeks that ensued was his relationship with Nick Saban and how much he respects him. And Sark has been open and saying, hey, any future that he had and now has in coaching, he puts a lot of that into Nick Saban, giving him another chance. So listen, again, you never want to say never, but you have to think if, and again, we're speculating here. Also give a shout out to the folks at Bama 24/7 are doing great reporting on their side as well. But you have to think if Nick Saban made a phone call to Steve Sarkisian and said, hey, I want you to strongly consider being my successor, that's something that Sark, just given the relationship between the two men, he would have to consider.
And then going back to the Texas locker room now, national pundits will probably say, oh, well, this is a surefire meaning that Arch Manning is hitting the portal, whereas here at Horns 24/7, we talked to him at the Sugar Bowl, and that seems unlikely. But I think it is fair to kind of discuss what this means for his future. You look at the quarterback depth chart right now with Malik Murphy going to Duke. It is Arch Manning is the backup to Quinn Ewers right now. And then you've got Trey Owens, the freshman coming in, is going to be more than likely your third string guy with Charles Wright transferring as well. So Eric, in your mind, what does this mean for Arch Manning and his development as a whole? Could this solidify Arch Manning potentially being the guy in 2025?
Sure. I mean, you would have to think that again, you're barring, there's a litany of things, right? First being Quinn Ewers, the fact that he has not played a full season and in the entirety of his college football career that he's been a starter. So you have to, wonder, Quinn holding up not just in the lead up to the season, but through the season. We saw this year Malik Murphy getting 2 games. So you got to think in terms of Arch, and the most immediate factor is he's now officially one step away from being on the field and having to navigate that offense and guide the team to victories. But also, yeah, in terms of his 2025 future, I mean, it helps. Like Quinn and Arch, they've both talked about it. Arch revealed during the Sugar Bowl week that he had Quinn Ewers over, to the family house, right? So the two guys, I guess young men, I should say, are developing a relationship, one that goes not only on the field, but now off the field as well. So just having that mentor, having in terms of, for Arch, not having to step in 2024. And that's not to say he may not have been ready with a full off season. With that being said, again, you just can't overstate the veteran presence of a Quinn Ewers, someone who's been there, done that. And listen, I know a lot was made about the attention that Arch Manning got at Sugar Bowl week media day. And there's a legendary shot, of Quinn Ewers not having much media attention. But guess what? That's just Sugar Bowl week. When you come to the day in, day out of Texas football, Quinn Ewers has been one of the faces of that program. And now with a lot of those veteran guys leaving in 2024, he'll be the face of Texas football. He knows what it's like to deal with the scrutiny of being the quarterback here in Austin. So I think even from that aspect as well, he can be somewhat of a mentor to Arch as far as handling that when it is eventually, presumably, is his time in 2025.